Howdy folks. Today I want to take a quick look at a topic that someone asked me about recently, and I didn't have the time to give it the attention it deserved when I was asked the question, but I thought it was kind of interesting. And that is, how do you make rainbow text? That being text where every single letter is a different color. And so I want to take a look at that. The sample code I have here is just a very simple React app. I'm using Vite. Just got very simple here. Some text. I've got a couple utilities for converting hexadecimal to decimal and decimal to hexadecimal. These will become useful later on. So let's get started. If we've got some text, right? Let's say rainbow text. Well, you could actually just use this string right here. What do we want to do to actually do it as a rainbow? Well, basically we want to have every single letter individually colored. So we could start off just by doing that. So let's add some text here. Rainbow text. This does get expensive in terms of how many elements you're going to create, but that's not really that big of a deal. What we want to do is actually, now that we have our text, we want to actually split it by an empty string. And if you split by an empty string, what that does is that basically turns this all into characters. And actually, I can just show you what that looks like right now. You can see that turns into an array where every single character is a separate entity. Exactly what we want, right? Now that we've done that, we can map over it. Map character, and then that. And then, if we just, right now, if I just return it, same thing, right? No real difference. The reason that this is powerful is now I can actually put this inside a span. Now, why would I want to put this inside a span? Because if you do that, you can manipulate each one individually because each one is now a separate element. So now you can see very little difference in the output, but each one of these is now a separate span. And React makes this very easy because we can just map. Now if we want to change the color. Okay, well first we want a couple colors. Let's add a nice red, green, blue. I think this is yellow. I forgot which color this one is going to be. I guess we'll find out. A couple colors to look over. Okay. Now what I want to do essentially is I want to say, okay, we get our index, and then I want to set the color of this span. To do that, I use the color property, but my color is going to come from colors bracket index. Okay. Oh, so it looks like a little bit of a teal there. So now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All these colors, but the rest of it's not covered. The rest of it's not covered because it ends, right? I only put in 6 colors. Now I could put in 15, 16 different colors in here. That would be a thing. That would be a lot of colors to add in manually. So what I could also do is just start over again on the M here and go back to red. Well, how do we do that? Instead of index, what I want to do is I actually want to loop, almost like a clock, right? Like a clock loops every 12 hours. That is where the remainder comes in. If I say, now I'll print this out just so you can see it, index remainder colors.length, what that does is that actually divides index by colors.length, but instead of giving you the division, it gives you the remainder. And I'll show you what that does. Const long color index. If I go to the console here, you can see 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's the 5. And then it starts over again. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And it'll continue that forever. Remainder is a really good way if you need to cycle through an array like this. Is you can actually just take your index and cycle it by a smaller array. And it'll kind of bound and loop, just like a clock does. Let's change that to color index now. There we go. Welcome to rainbow text. One of these actually, this doesn't look like this is... We're not getting a color in for this one. 0, 1, 2. This is the third or the fourth color. 0, 1, 2. Oh, that's why. It's not a valid color. There we go. It's a little hard to read, but that's all right. Welcome to Rainbow Text. And no matter how long it gets, it just continues to cycle. So that's one way to do it. But those colors are not amazingly exciting, right? There's 5 of them. I could add more, but there's a more interesting way of doing it too. So the thing about these hex numbers is they're just numbers. These are actually numbers. Each one of these is from 0 to 255. What that means is we can actually do some math on them. So let's say I have start color equals f00. Well, actually, let's go from 000 to FFF. FFF's not going to look amazing, but what I want to do then is generate this dynamically from these, stepping based on each one of these. So what does that look like? Well, if I've only got 2, right, that ends up, my colors end up looking like something like generate colors. Well, actually, if I only have 2 letters, then I basically end up with 000 and FFF. Let's say I add in a third color. That'd be halfway in between these. This is FFF is 15, so we're looking around 8, so 888. Right? So that's 3. If I had 15 letters, I could do 15 colors. But we can do this mathematically. So we're going to start off. Okay, I want to convert these to decimal. That's why we have our utilities in there. So let's import to bin and, oops, not dec to bin, hex and hex to dec. Dec stands for decimal here. From utils / numbers. Okay, so I want to say, all right, for I equals hex to dec start color, I less than or equal to hex to dec end color. What is I plus plus? Well, that's a good question, actually. Really, I want this to increment by how many letters I have. This is a little bit complicated, but essentially what I want to do is I want to find the difference between these 2 colors, and then I want to find how many letters I have, so I need to know how many increments I need to spread that difference out among. So if I have between 000 and 111, and I have 5 letters, I need to spread that difference in color or numbers over 5. So actually, I really need to change these first. Const start dec equals dec start color, and I'm going to do the same thing for my end color. End color. All right. Now the difference is going to be the end color minus the start color, because that's the difference between 2 numbers. You take the larger one, and you subtract the smaller one. Okay. Now this is something I call like a per letter. I'm going to divide that difference by the number of letters, and that tells me how many numbers, how much color to increment every number. So what we're going to say is per letter equals diff divided by text.length. This might be a floating point. That's okay. We'll deal with it later. So now I can say I equals start color dec for decimal, or des, I guess, end color, I plus equals per letter. Now my current color is going to be I. So I can just say generate colors.push dec to hex I. And let's console log that. Oh, it didn't like that. I is not defined. That's fair because I want to say let I. Okay. T, I missed an O there. All right. And, oh, it just says undefined. The hex. Oh, these are not returning. That's why. That would be important. All right, we got 0. Didn't go any further, though. That's kind of interesting. Okay, so let's dig into that. Console.log, I, end, codec, and per letter. Oh, per letter is null. It's not a number. That explains that. So whatever we're getting here is coming out as not a number. Oh, why is that? Oh, you know why? Because these are the strings. So diff is actually one string minus another, which is not a thing JavaScript likes to do. Let's change that to our numbers. Ooh, there we go. Now we got a bunch of stuff going up by 78, and here's all of our colors. You can see they do have a dot on them. We don't necessarily want that dot, but these are fully valid colors all the way from 0 to FFF. Okay. So let's actually take our I, and we're going to say I.toFixed. Or actually, no, we're going to parse int. And what that's going to do is that's going to chop off the decimal point. Okay. Now, that looks a little bit better, except some of these are not 3 digits. Now, CSS is going to have a big problem with that. If you give it #0, it's going to be very confused. It doesn't like that. It likes 3 or 6 hex digits. So we actually could go up to 6 if we want more precision here. So what we're going to use is we're going to use, actually, funnily enough, leftpad. Not the actual leftpad module that's so famous, but something similar. The hex num equals, first I'm going to turn number into a string, and then I'm going to call pad start. And max length is going to be 3, and I want to fill it with zeros. And now you can see it's padded those with zeros. Goes up, goes up. Oh, this doesn't look right, actually. Now these are all of a sudden regular numbers. So what have I done here? Oh, I parsed in. Oh, yeah. So I actually want to do the decimal to hex on num instead. There we go. That looks pretty good. So now all we have to do, we don't even need to worry about this index anymore. We can just say generated colors of index. Why don't we have to worry about the color index and wrapping it anymore? Because we've generated as many colors as we needed because of our per letter. At least that's how it should work out. Oh, and that didn't work either because these don't have hashes in front of them. CSS won't recognize them. So what we can do is let's just put a hash. And there you go. That is some real rainbow text right there. That's pretty cool. I think this one, oh, no, I guess we didn't actually even use all of them. So maybe this goes a little bit over because what is the last one on here? This is, oh man, I don't even know what color this is. 255, 187, but it definitely doesn't go all the way. So it looks like we may have generated more than we need. That's not too terrible, I guess. So yeah, there you go. That is one way to do this. So let's actually take a look at this and make this into a module. Okay, component, and I'm gonna call it rainbow text JSX, and export default function text. What we need is we need the text, start color, and end color. And then we're going to take all of this. We don't need these colors here. Grab all this. And then let's take all this. And we probably want to wrap it in something just so we can handle them all. So we'll just put it in another span. The reason I'm using spans here is so that things don't get really, confused with the display block and stuff like that. Okay, and then we'll take this. Oopsie. And these actually need to be up a directory because components. We need to go up a directory to get to utils. Now we're going to import that. Import rainbow text. And here, rainbow text, text equals text. Start color equals start color. and color equals n color. And we no longer need any of this code. Ooh, that broke. Start color's already been declared. Right, because I declared it here. Okay, so let's get rid of that. There we go. Now we've got a nice little element in there. Creates a span, creates more spans. Oh, this didn't get any color. That's kind of interesting. Why did that get colors? Let's see. Generate colors and index. Maybe there's something wrong with our color index. Oh. It's putting them in the middle. Look at that. Why is it doing that? Because I added this in here and then called pad start on it. So, first of all, I need to get my hex num, and then I need to actually add that on the end. There we go. That looks better. We're also getting this key property, so what we could do here is rainbow index, and get rid of our console log. And there we go. Rainbow text. Another fun thing we could do on this, I guess, and it's not too hard, is we could make this cycle through colors. Now, the way we would do that is we want to declare an offset for our index. Actually, you know what? Yeah, okay. No, let's just do that. Offset equals use state 0. Starts off at 0, right? And then we'll put a use effect into place. And we want to set a timeout. Or interval, rather. Set interval. And let's say maybe every 100th of a second. In this interval, I actually want to increment my offset. Now, the issue is with React is I can't just say set offset plus 1 because this is a closure that will never update. So the value of offset never changes, so it'll always be the same. So if you're going to do a set, you actually have to call and pass a callback in. So if you pass a callback into the set function here, it actually calls that callback with the current value, which can be really helpful. And then whatever you return becomes a new value. Plus 1. And then at the end of this, this is the other thing about effects. If I'm doing something like setting an interval, you can return a function from the effect. And what this does is this function will run the next time the effect is run or when the component disappears. Now, in this particular case, the effect is only going to be run once, so this return function will run when the component is unhooked from the browser. In that case, when the component is unhooked, I want to clear my interval. Oops. For this particular one, we're never actually getting rid of the component, but it's still a very good practice. When you set something else, like an effect, or an event listener, or an interval, or a timeout, you should clear it at the end. Now, let's actually do index plus offset. Ooh, you can see it's going away, but it's not refreshing through the list. So we actually want to do bring back color index. And we're going to say index offset. Wow, that was completely poorly typed. Index plus offset. Remainder generated colors.length. And then we put the color index here. And there you go. There's your rainbow text, and it is even circling through, which I think that's a pretty cool effect. It's actually the direction it's going. Looks like it's going right to left. If you wanted to reverse that, you could just subtract the offset instead. Oh no, now it's going negative. I think that's because color index needs to probably be absolute. There we go. Now it looks like it's going the other way. We could actually add that in too as like a speed property, right? And we could set it here. Aye. speed. And then we actually, if I put that in here, then it'll adapt to changes in speed appropriately. Now in here I could say speed equals 50, for instance. And now it goes much faster. Pretty cool. Alright folks, that's all for now. If you found this useful, please feel free to give the video a like. It really helps us out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.